let us discuss the primary and secondary response. So this time, this will be the types of responses of our immune system. So what is a primary response? So for example, it is our first time. So it's the first time that our body, for example, is exposed to, for example, the common cold virus or the virus that causes common colds. If it's the body's first time, then okay, the body will produce IgM first and then IgG. Okay, so that is the primary response of the body because it's the first time that the body has encountered that pathogen. Now, after some time, if our body is exposed again to that antigen, it's already the second time or the third time, the response of our body is faster compared to the primary response. Okay, and this time, there will be a rapid and larger increase in the production of IgG. And this is also mediated by long-lived memory T cells and memory B cells. So our immune system has its own memory system, which we call the immunological memory. So what is immunological memory? So this means that if the same pathogen or antigen is encountered a second time or a third time or a fourth time, even if the period of time is long, for example, you were exposed to that specific pathogen when you were a baby, and then when you were 20 years old or 10 years old or 30 years old or 60 years old, even if it's after decades, our immune system can still recognize that pathogen. The system will now react much faster and more dramatically to produce a large amount of specific IgG to encounter antigen. So that is how amazing the memory of our immune system is. So even if it's after a very long period of time, it can still recognize if it is the second time. So how does our immune system work? Okay, so this is a diagram or a representation that can help us understand how our immune system function or how our immune system respond, whether it's a primary response or a secondary response. So first, so this purple or bluish purple cell is our B cell. So what it does is that it roams around our body, recognizing whether a pathogen has entered our body. Now, once it has recognized a pathogen, so how will it recognize the pathogen? By its antigens, by the antigens attached to the bacteria or to the virus, parasites, or fungi. Okay, so the B cell has now recognized that an invader has entered our body by its antigen. So this red, okay, these red ones are the antigens which our B cells can recognize. After that, if the antigen matches the receptors of our B cells, it will attach, okay, to the antigen of the bacteria. And then remember, the function of the T cells is that they will recognize B cells or pathogens that are tagged by the B cells. So here, the helper T cell recognizes that the B cell has an antigen or a bacteria. What it will do is that the helper T cell will now activate the B cell. Once the B cell is activated by the helper T cell, the B cell will divide. It will be divided into two. It will divide into a plasma cell and a memory cell. So the memory cell is the one, okay, that will recognize or it will store the information about that pathogen so that later on when it encounters the same pathogen again, the response of the immune system will be faster. And then for the fourth step, the plasma cell will now produce antibodies that will attach to the invader. And now, since the plasma cell has tagged the pathogens, the macrophages or the killer cells will recognize these pathogens as harmful for the body, therefore killing them either by destroying them or by eating them. Then, if the same intruder invades again later, the memory cells will help the immune system to activate much faster.